Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Gaming Movie Show. My name is Deshaun and today I am here to review She-Hulk episode 8. It has finally come around, people. There's been a lot of bitching, there's been a lot of moaning, there's been a lot of, where is this specific character ever since he showed up in the trailer. Now, personally, I've loved, I was afraid that, he was going to be a recurring, I thought he was going to be a reoccurring character, which I'm glad they didn't. They just kept focused on Jen, which they should have. And I even love that the actual writers and creators of the show were completely self-aware of how people would react to Daredevil being in the trailer and how people would react to Daredevil being in the show, that they literally spent time trolling you guys. Literally. They literally directly trolled you, particularly in episode 7, where they literally basically look at you guys and go, "Ha, bitch, he's not showing up here." But he finally shows up in this episode. Matt Murdock, Daredevil. Now, Matt Murdock had showed up in the Spider-Man movie. He showed up in the Spider-Man movie very briefly, maybe 2 minutes of a scene. What, 3 minutes of a scene? And we get hints to who he is, but nothing too serious. So he showed up there. So that was technically his introduction. But this is his real introduction back into the MCU. People have to understand, this is going to be some, the majority of MCU fans, this will be their first experience with this character. And I know it's kind of crazy and kind of a baffling thing for us people who watch the Netflix shows, love Charlie Cox, loved his approach, love what he did with that character and whatnot. It's gotta be weird for people. I think we get in our bubbles and we think that everyone gives a shit about this comic book stuff. But let's face it, outside of the actual MCU, the big movies, the Avengers, the Black Panthers and shit like that, everyday people don't actually give a fuck. And I don't think that, and I don't know how, and if you go back and look at the numbers for Daredevil, they were pretty good at the time. But I'm sure that I would highly doubt any of the Netflix shows are even still in Netflix's top 10 or top 20 most watched things anymore anyway. I mean, granted, they're not there anymore, but I just don't think those numbers are as big. I don't think as many people watched that show as we think did. So this is going to be some people's first experience to the character. And a lot of people were nervous, especially when they heard that she was going to be in She-Hulk, even before anyone had seen anything in She-Hulk. When the rumor was he was going to be in She-Hulk, a lot of people got nervous because even before the show ever came out, they were talking about what it's going to be. It's going to be more of a comedic show. It's going to be more of a sitcom, Ally McBeal legal show. So a lot of people were already nervous. And then the show came out, and like I said, it's divided a lot of people. A lot of a lot of small dick little fanboys have tried to attack the show, attacked it, tried to shoot down the audience ratings and stuff, which means absolutely nothing, because as we've seen in the past, those things can be easy, the actual audience scores and stuff are so hard to really it's so hard to really especially for a show like this, you go look at something like if you go back and just look at any movie that has a super strong female character that gets labeled as woke or anything like that, none of those movies have very strong audience scores, because the only people who go on these sites and actually vote for that stuff are mostly people who have an agenda. So I don't pay attention to that. The real score you should pay attention to is that 88% that it has RT score She-Hulk has. But anyways, enough talking about that stuff. The point of the matter is, how was Daredevil? Was he changed? Was he different? Is this the confirmation that the Netflix shows exist in the MCU? The last part, I don't know. We won't know until his show comes out, honestly. Because nothing in this made it clear that this is the same Daredevil, other than a music cue. But that could be as fun as, them using the X-Men, the animated series, the direct theme at the end of Ms. Marvel. None of us actually thinks that. Do any of us think because they use the X-Men, the animated theme in Ms. Marvel, that the X-Men who show up in the MCU are going to be that version of the X-Men? No. So I don't think that them using the Daredevil, theme is any indication of what if this is still the canon Daredevil or not. Though there are hints, you know, there are subtle hints to maybe Foggy Nelson, because he says us when he's talking. But either way, let's get into the his character. This character is a slightly relaxed version of Matt Murdock. And to be fair, if you watch the show, you know that his rapport with Foggy, especially in the first season, in the beginning, before Foggy figured out who he is, it's not too different than how he is with Jennifer Walters or She-Hulk. It's not that different. He's like, the thing difference is that in the Daredevil show, there's a lot less of it. Like, there's not as much time of Matt being relaxed and just talking, hanging out with Foggy and talking the shit and just being the avocados at law that they are. If you watch the show, you get that joke. But like, there's not actually a lot of that, like, in the show when you go back and watch it. Like, but when it happens, you see it. And that version of Matt, because this entire version of Matt Murdock in the She-Hulk episode is that relaxed. He doesn't have the weight of the world on his shoulders. There isn't some immediate personal thing he has to deal with. He's that relaxed Matt who's hanging out with Foggy. And if you watch the show, he made jokes all the time and fucked with Foggy and made all kinds of jokes and stuff when he was hanging out with him. And that same type of Matt is the Matt that you get. And like, it kind of made me go, okay. So if that's going to be how you like kind of soften him a bit, is by making him have more of those relaxed. It's like I said, it's not like they made him goofier. They didn't change his character. He is the same, at least Charlie Cox is performing it, the same Matt Murdock from Netflix. At least that's his demeanor, except he's more relaxed. He's more chill. Like I said, he doesn't have this existential crisis or this huge personal thing or this thing he has to do in the weight of the world on his shoulders. It's just relaxed Matt. He's calm. He's cool. He seems like he's in a good place in his life. This is Matt minus all the bullshit. And it's the same character. And I thought, wow, this is great. The chemistry between him and Matt Murdock and Jennifer Walters, a.k.a. Charlie Cox, and Tatiana Maslany was fucking palpable. Love these two together. It was great, dude. Like, I was like, damn, I could do more. Like, I knew I said I couldn't do more with them, but I could. Honestly, I could do more with these two interacting together in the MCU further. Hell, even Charlie Cox said he had such a good time doing it that he was like, I hope she can come on my show, you know, at a certain point, maybe for an episode or something. But yeah, Daredevil was the bomb. He fought like, and the thing is too, is that for a very long time, I thought with the people on the Netflix, like I was like, these characters, in my opinion, the Netflix version of these characters weren't that powerful compared to the MCU characters. I'd make an argument that the Netflix characters could get bodied by fucking Hawkeye, by fucking the Ronin version of Hawkeye would body all those fucking dudes. Because as badass as they are, fighting their little group of people, I was always like, I can't see this version of Daredevil swinging next to Spider-Man. He's not acrobatic enough. Like, Daredevil in the comics he has the same agility as like Spider-Man. I mean, he is on one. You know what I mean? He can fight Captain America, Daredevil in the comics. But I'm like, I don't see that out of this Daredevil. Luke Cage, any of them, especially Iron Fist. So that's why I always fought back against the idea of them being MCU and the idea of them dragging them in. Because I was like, dude, you would have to upgrade them. And upgrade them they did. From the first sequence you see Matt in the Daredevil suit, the gold and red Daredevil suit, you notice that his agility is on point. He is more athletic. He is more agilic. He's like, it's like they really played that aspect of his character because that's such a huge aspect of Daredevil. And it was something that was never really played up in the show. It was never really played up because they couldn't really do it because they had such a budget. But Daredevil's supposed to be doing Spider-Man level acrobatics. Like, that's Daredevil he does Spider-Man level Daredevil's supposed to be swinging from rooftops, dude. Like, swinging from rooftops, like, doing insane dives and shit. Like, that's Daredevil. I mean, that's kind of how he ended up getting his name in the first place. Well, or how the name kind of, like, Well, that's not how he got the name, but the name and his antics kind of went together because he's doing this insane shit. But they, like I said, they couldn't do it in the Netflix show, so it's cool to see them play up that aspect, and that's really what's going to be the thing that makes him so different than that other Daredevil is that he, like, with that kind of agility and whatnot, it's gonna put him on par with some of the heavy hitters. It's gonna make him, and you know Marvel wants him to be a heavy hitter. Ever since they put out that, like, they kind of showed an image of there's like, cause at the what's it, Avengers Campus, that little the theme park they got, there's like this mural of like King Thanos and like all these superheroes fighting against him, and Daredevil's right in that motherfucker. So you know Marvel wants him to be a player, a big player going forward. And hell, I mean, the fact that he was in Spider-Man, he's in this, he's rumored to be in Echo and his own show, that is 4 things that he's shown up in back to like that, and like in the course of a couple projects. So Marvel clearly wants him to be a big player going forward. So they really did have to glow up Daredevil, and make him a little bit more super. Love their chemistry. Love that they hooked up. That was great. And also the ending, to get into it, like every episode has the story playing in the background. Like I say, some people are, I don't want to say you're stupid, but you probably have already made up your mind about the show, so you don't even care. But there has always been this subtle story building up in the background about Jennifer becoming more comfortable with being She-Hulk, about how she feels about She-Hulk. And honestly, Matt just made her feel better about being She-Hulk. Matt actually introduced her to a world of, I can be a superhero. I can do this thing. Because she kept feeling like she needed to choose one or the other. And now she sees the good she can do. Now she sees someone else doing good, and now it makes her feel better about it. So, like, she's finally starting to get a grasp on this She-Hulk thing. She's finally starting to, and then these assholes try to embarrass her. They try to carry her. Like, you saw the movie Carrie, right? By the way, I'll be reviewing that movie soon. Carrie, that's another horror classic coming your way. But Carrie, where Carrie won, and then they poured the blood on Carrie, and they poured the fucking, the pig's blood on her, and made her, embarrassed her, and she freaked out and murdered everyone. They tried to pull that same thing on Jen, except for, the dude recorded them having sex, and, it was pretty fucking sleazy. It was super sleazy. It was super fucked up. And she snapped. She snapped. Granted, like, that's a fucking insane situation. You're up here, the proudest moment of your life is ruined. Not only you ruined, that's a whole nother can. And, like, that's the thing. Some people confuse, like, her attitude for, she doesn't understand. She doesn't have to work hard. She hasn't been through what Bruce Banner's ever gone through. Let's see, everyone fights different battles. Everyone's dealing with different things. She's dealing with different things. But Bruce has never been in this position where she is in this type of way. Because Bruce he's been on the run. Plus, I've already mentioned, Bruce's issues really don't have anything to do with some of the immediate stuff that's happened to him since he was the Hulk. Bruce's issues happened long before he was ever this. But this situation is a fucked up situation. It's an embarrassing situation. That's one of those situations that, like, real talk, one of those embarrassing situations that you hear about happening to a celebrity, and then you shortly hear about them committing suicide or something. Like, an embarrassing, unforgettable situation like that. And, like, she snapped for a second there. She snapped. So I'm wholeheartedly expecting her to be in prison. And her have to, like, be like, no, I'm not a threat. I just snapped for a moment. You guys saw what happened. Like, I'm curious to see how all that goes down. I really am. It's made me excited for next week's episode. I'm so curious of what the fuck's gonna happen next week. It's the last episode. I'm not sure. I am not sure. But I tell you one thing, this episode was fucking perfect. 10 out of 10 from me. Loved it. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Guy Movie Show. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.